everybody, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to Overkill Reviews. As you may know, we do metal reviews every single week, so make sure you subscribe. You can also head over to our Patreon and throw some money our way. Today, we are discussing an album that has been the subject of both rants and raves from a polarized fan base. You want some genre-amorphous, hardcore, grindcore, sludge, atmospheric stuff? Well, you got it. This is Pig Destroyer's Head Cage, and it's out now via Relapse Records. Before we get into the review, I gotta get you up to speed on their history. Pig Destroyer was formed in 1997 by guitarist Scott Hall as a counterpoint to his existing grindcore band, his drum machine grindcore band, known as Agoraphobic Nosebleed. After releasing their kind of uneven debut, Explosions in Ward 6, they put out a few more tiny releases, and then they unleashed their best album, which is Prowler in the Yard. That album is considered a grindcore masterpiece. It confused and concerned and shocked and aroused due to its very dark and transgressive lyrics and incredibly brutal style and nature. The band followed up that record with Terrifier, which many fans were divided on because it showcased a much more produced production style. Since those two highlight albums, the response to Pig Destroyer's music has become more inconsistent as the band has become more experimental and more technical. They first really started branching out with their 2007 album, Phantom Limb, which was hella sludgy and groovy, and then albums like 2008's Natasha, which was an EP that's essentially drone, and then 2012's Book Burner was very hardcore, grindcore oriented. So things have kind of gone all over the map. Now on this new record, they have new things once more. The biggest one is a bassist for the first time in the band's history on recorded album. Does that mean that they've diverged very far from the original plot? Let's talk about it. The opening track of Head Cage is called The Tunnel Under the Tracks. And I know that I just shit-talked this with the Black Tusk record, but it is a jarring, noise and sample-laden song. And I personally hate it. It's incredibly aggressive, it's very dissonant, but the more and more I listen to the record, the more and more I realized why they set it up this way. We'll talk about that a little bit later. First, let's talk about the songs that come after it. So, to address the elephant in the room, the addition of the bassist has brought this very kind of drone/industrial vibe to the band. And obviously, the noise that Blake integrates also adds to that overall sound. There's a very strong juxtaposition of atmospheric and heavy and absolutely pummeling, and a good juxtaposition of fast and slow. What that means for Pig Destroyer fans who wish that they would do Prowler in the Yard 2.0 is that there's not much here for you anymore. If you dig their more recent offerings, this, like those, has a good cross-section of subgenres. There's the industrial, there's the sludge, there's the hardcore, there's the grindcore. And not only that, but I'm also sensing in a few parts something that probably could be called tech death. In particular, there's a part in Terminal Itch with these very pig squeal-esque vocals that really at least lock my brain into that genre. In the track Concrete Beast, you're really gonna notice Kat from Agoraphobic Nosebleed's vocals. She's got a higher screaming growl, and it really helps open the song up a bit, and I think that her contributions were really smart because they help bring that whole landscape into another realm. So before I share my favorite clip, I need to go back to my original point about hating that intro. Truth be told, the more that I listened to this record, the more uncomfortable I felt, the more anxious I felt, and the more that my back just kind of hurt. And fittingly, the intro track contains this statement: "We will not be held responsible for any hearing impediments or damage caused to you with excessive exposure to this sound." Then the sound that follows is just jarring, horrible feedback. They're literally fucking with you. To me, that says, we're a very self-aware band and we are setting you up for what's to come. Again, Pig Destroyer is really good at these jarring juxtapositions. Here's a musical one, albeit one that's not nearly as aggressive. Even within this 30-second clip, there's a deceptive amount of changes going on, and this is a 30-second clip that is called from a 7-minute long track. It starts out with the reasonably simple riff and those clattering drums, and then it becomes denser and heavier and uglier, and at parts chugging and at parts hardcore. Meanwhile, of course, you're getting J.R. Hayes and his very interesting shouted growl over top. And this album is cram-packed full of these transitions. All of the songs tend to go all over the place, even if they're 1.5 minutes long versus 7 minutes long. Now to try and sum up what didn't work. I listened to this record a lot. I listened to their older records. I pulled out other grindcore records by bands like Repulsion, by bands like Napalm Death, by, oh, that's not Napalm Death, that is Nazem, by Despise You, and by Napalm Death. There's CDs all over the place. I read books about grindcore. I read old interviews that I saw in Decibel. I did all this work, and yet I still don't know if I actually like the record. Musically, I feel like there's a lot going on here. The musicianship is obviously there, but when it went to picking my favorite sections of the album, I felt like I was pulling things out of a hat, and I literally couldn't remember one after listening to it a good 15 times. Now, the phrase that you all love to mock me for, which is that being said. That being said, I didn't realize that I was one of those assholes who prefers grindcore Pig Destroyer like Prowler in the Yard and Terrifier, and me not necessarily liking this record does not make this record bad. It's a good record, and I'm overall impressed, and I feel like anybody who likes post-2004 Pig Destroyer material is going to really enjoy it. So, what does that mean? From a musicianship and skill perspective, Headcage represents a band that continues to be compelling, technical, progressive, and also continues to be gaining new fans. For all those reasons, I'm giving it 4 skulls out of 5 here on Overkill Reviews. Now for the shoutouts. The huge one this week that I really wanted to review was the brand new Satan album. It's called Cruel Magic, and it's out now on Metal Blade Records. I really wanted to review this record, but the Patreon people do help us decide what we're going to do. So if you're into that style of music, make sure that you head over there, donate, and vote in those polls. The other releases that are out now include Owl, Nights in Distortion, out on Temple of Torturous, and finally, some CanCon, in fact, some TorontoCon, the latest record by Toronto's own Cauldron. It's called New Gods, and it's out via the End Records. That's it for me. Would love to hear what you think of the new Pig Destroyer. Would also love to argue about whether or not you think that Helvete is Nazem's best record, or, you know, we can also obsess over my signed copy of Repulsion's Horrified. But that's it. Bye.